Bonjour, I am Jacques Torres and welcome to Tuesday Tips. I grew up in the south of France and I think that all over France, bakery, not patisserie but bakery was doing those flan, which is usually a dough, very rarely puff pastry like today I'm going to show you, but maybe a pâte sablée or a pâte sucrée, into a mold, and they pour over the sample pastry cream. Bake it in the oven for 40 minutes, let it cool down, sometimes cut square from a big sheet pan, sometimes make them round and cut a nice triangle. And you can buy those flan still today at the supermarket for 1 or 2 euro, or in bakery for 3 to 4 euro. So they are very inexpensive and I always like that cake. But the last few years, I see in France more and more high-end flan, where we put a little bit less eggs, we want the texture to be softer, we put a little bit of cornstarch, we put a lot of vanilla, we put the puff pastry, so the puff pastry stay crunchy, and then you have the nice texture of the flan. I mean, they are extremely good, and this is something that I love. Look, it's maybe not for everyone, maybe not everyone will love it. I love flan. So I'm going to show you how I do it. And I went with the new version where you use puff pastry, and I did puff pastry in one of my Tuesday tips. I think that was a quick puff pastry and it worked very well. This is actually what that is. So I'm going to put that on the bottom of my mold, and then with my hands I'm pushing up the dough for like 2/8 of an inch up. So you want that dough to go a little bit toward the mold. So you want the angle to be really, the dough going really well into that angle, and then go up. Then the next thing that I'm going to do, I cut a long piece of puff pastry and I'm going to put that around, and I'm going to overlap. So it's overlap from the bottom and it will overlap to itself. So let's take this side, which is nicer. Okay. And then I'm going to put that like that. And I know it's too long, but I will just cut what I need. You don't want to overlap too much, but you want to overlap a little bit. So this is too much. So I'm going to remove at least 1 inch, and then keep going. Okay, we have it. Okay, so everything is ready. So the next things that I'm going to do, I'm going to take a piece of parchment paper, and then I'm going to show you okay, so you basically okay, so I'm using the whole sheets. You can use less, of course, because you don't really need all sheets. Okay, so then I look at about the center and I'm going to add the side, the height of the side. Okay, so now what I want to do is cut 2 or 3 times around it. Okay. And I'm going to put that inside my mold. And I'm going to be sure that the paper goes all the way to the corner. I have some beans that I use every time I make a tart shell. I will put the beans on the middle here. Okay, here we go. So in the past I tried to not put beans or paper, and what's happened is the puff pastry collapse and everything blow. I mean, it doesn't work. So in order to keep everything in place, you have to put something to hold the dough. The beans work like that. You can also go to a store who sell pastry equipment, and they have some little piece of metal. They have different things that you can put into your pie. Beans work very well with a parchment paper. So remember to do it, because otherwise your puff pastry is going to just develop and it doesn't work. I take the flan shell out of the oven what I have to do now is remove the beans. So I'm going to do that, and I'm going to try to not burn myself. Uh-oh. Okay, and you see that's very interesting. We see very well. You see wherever the beans was, the shell is perfect. So now I'm going to put it back in the oven and to dry this side a little bit more, and then I'm going to put the cream inside. So I think that the bottom of my flan is ready. So I'm going to take it out of the oven. You see, it's perfect now. So the next things are going to do the cream inside. So I have 540 grams of milk, 270 grams of cream. I'm going to add some of the vanilla. We make this extract. So I go a little bit heavy on the vanilla. 3 eggs, 150 grams of sugar. Actually, I can put a little bit of the sugar into the milk and cream. And then the last thing is I have some cornstarch, 40 grams of cornstarch. I'm going to mix that with the eggs and the sugar. And then the last thing is to mix all that together and bring it to a boil. Okay, so I'm almost ready with that. So I'm waiting until the milk starts boiling, and then I can add my eggs with the sugar and the cornstarch. Okay, the milk is boiling, and then bring everything back into the pot. And bring all that to a boil a little bit. Okay. Okay, the next thing is to put everything into the shell. And in the oven, 350 degrees, certainly for 20 to 30 minutes. So I take the flan out of the oven, and actually I put it in a refrigerator for a couple hours. The flan needs to set into the refrigerator and don't move for a couple hours, or even better, overnight. So now it's ready to be cut. So I'm going to show you how it looks inside. Voila. And you see it's very creamy, and that's exactly what we want. So I'm going to cut a few portions. And you see it's pretty soft, it's trembling, and it's actually what you want. That's actually the sign of a good flan, is when it's that trembling and that soft. Okay, my guess is I have to try it. I love my job. That worked. The vanilla is so good. Bon appétit, and I hope that helped.